I'm Shrey Chande. It's a pleasure to finally be here. I'm a district manager here with Project Now. Obviously, I'm very thrilled to be here at the upper echelons of management. SVP, obviously, it's a dream to even have a meeting with y'all. I've been with this company for a very, very long time, and I'm glad that I'm finally able to come and provide feedback in regards to certain things. As I recall, I was called here to essentially provide some ideas on how y'all at the upper management level wanted us as district managers to build and maintain relationships with particularly the millennial gardening department customers, and how we can go beyond just selling gardening supplies with them. And you also wanted my ideas in regards to how to cultivate relationship with the garden department customers and how we can overall build loyalty to Project Now and increase sales overall. So while this is quite a bit of stuff, I do have sort of a 8 to 9 minute presentation I'd just like to go over with you. I feel like this will encompass the vast majority of things and in the end increase our sales overall. I understand profit is the bottom line and primary incentive to keeping us open, but I do have a feeling that you're going to enjoy in regards to what we can provide for our customers and our employees. So first off, I'd just like to explain key factors in building a clientele. So of my many years with this company and my many years in the general workforce, I've noted two key things, or one key thing that sort of diverges into two things. So customers cannot be treated in the same general manner. And while this at the surface may seem obvious that we'll take each interaction case to case, it truly is one of the most important factors to building a clientele. My manager, my manager's manager, and pretty much everywhere I've gone, I've heard one key saying, and that is different strokes for different folks. We treat everybody differently based on how they want their experience to be tailored. We serve at the pleasure of the customer, and without the customers, we wouldn't necessarily be here. So it is essential that we treat the customer the way that they want to be treated, while also making sure that we are efficient and essentially just overall productive with our work and with our sales. So building a clientele is extremely important. We need to have consistent customers in order to keep our business functioning. So that kind of leads me straight into my second point, and this is kind of like explaining how customer service is a component of selling relationships. It's probably the most essential component of selling relationships, and this is because customer service and selling is more of a process than a function. The reason I'm saying that is because picture it this way, that you're a customer who just walked into our store. You say that you want to have a tree to plant in your backyard. Our employees were trained not to specifically say, okay, well, we have X, Y, and Z tree. Go ahead, pick whichever one you like the most. I'll be at the cash register ready to check you out. And obviously doing this in a more friendly tone, but I just need to get the point across real quick. So instead of that, we train our employees to go ahead and be like, okay, that sounds good. So did you have any ideas in mind? What kind of trees do you like? Do you like them to stay alive for the whole year, just for a few months of the year? What kind of upkeep are you generally okay with? We try to guide it so that the customer feels like they're the one in charge, and they truly are. But we make it so that the customer truly feels at home and feels like they're the one with the knowledge and they're the one making the core decisions, as opposed to the employee knowing all the information and simply conveying it to them. It's a process. We guide them bit by bit until they get to the cash register and until they get out of the store. And that's when the process partially ends. I'll get more into that later. But it's not simply a function where we're able to help them once, boom, they're done and out. We want to make sure that we guide them throughout the entirety of the process. So another key thing is in regards to how we can determine customer and client needs. Now, that process doesn't stop immediately the second the customer walks out the door. We do want to solicit feedback. And soliciting feedback is the best way for us to determine our customer and client needs. This is obviously an essential thing to do because data is one of the most important components on how to function well as a business for us. For example, and a customer comes into the store, they say they're asking for X, but if we have data that 90% of the time the customer's really asking for Y, and we were able to guide them from X to Y without making them feel bad, that increases efficiency in sales for us while also making the customer feel like our employees are much more knowledgeable than they actually have to be. So all around, it creates a sense of holistic compatibility to a degree. The customer fits right in at the store, the employees fit in right at the store, and the store is sort of just a guiding hand to get the customer what they need and show the employee how to get it. So this is very, very essential to overall helping us function as a business, and determining customer and client needs is purely going to happen by soliciting feedback at every step of the selling process. How do we build and maintain these relationships with customers, though, once we determine their needs? This kind of ties into the 3 points I made earlier in regards to how we can build a clientele and keep a clientele, obviously, how we can really use customer service as a process rather than a function, and how we determine their needs. So once we've done those three, we have to build and maintain this relationship with customers in order to maintain that clientele and in order to cultivate a sense of growth for our company. Building and maintaining relationships with customers really relies on 4 key caveats. These 4 key caveats are communication, attitude, speed, and forecast. Now, the first 3 components, communication, attitude, and speed, are probably pretty obvious for somebody of your stature and caliber, so I'm not going to go over them and waste both of our times. Forecasting, though, is something I have begun to learn only in recent years, I'll be completely honest. It is a complex function to a degree that requires a little bit more training than you would think, and a little bit more experience in the field than you would think. But forecasting is essentially, for example, a customer comes in and they say that they want to buy a tree to plant in their backyard. It's the employee's duty to know, in regards to the company and for the benefit of the customer, that does the customer have a shovel to plant the tree? Does the customer have the necessary fertilizer and water hose to maintain the tree? Do they have bush trimmers in order to make sure that bad branches can get cut off? Do they have a weed kind of tarp to make sure that weeds can't grow and suck up essential nutrients for the tree? It's the employee's responsibility to make sure that all of these things are tied together, and we do that by forecasting. We forecast the needs of the employee, and we use communication out to figure that out. We have a positive attitude, smiles all throughout to make sure that the customer knows that they're getting into a positive relationship with us. And we use our speed to make sure we don't keep the customer waiting, because in the end, we do serve at the pleasure of the customer. Without the customers, we simply wouldn't have any need to make a bottom line of profit. Overall, those 4 things tie in together very well to build and maintain relationships with the customers and build our client base. The final thing is kind of unrelated to this, but at the same time, I do want to go over it simply because it is an essential component of selling. And this is discussing motivational theories that impact buying behavior. I'm not talking about like motivational speakers like, you got this, go ahead, you can do this every morning, wake up at 6, get a cold shower, eat a heavy breakfast, work out for another 4 hours. Not that kind of motivation. Motivation in the same sense of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is something I learned way back when I was going to get my MBA, and essentially, Maslow's hierarchy of needs helps us understand buying behavior and how important really an item is to a customer and their true motives and influences when buying this product. By essentially inspecting everything around why a customer wants to buy something, we can figure out how badly exactly they want it, what they want, how they want it, and tie this into the other 4 points that I talked about by helping build the clientele and helping just use customer service as a function. This ties in very closely to my 3rd point of determining customer needs. Once we determine these needs, we're able to use these motivational theories. And this does require a little bit of extensive training, so I can definitely connect with you later on that. We'll use the same email chain, I presume. But overall, these motivational theories help greatly, and it also helps us build and maintain our relationship with customers. So all of these were some key ideas. I do have a couple of graphs I want to show you in regards to what exactly is our customer base at the moment. So if you look here, our gardening department composes of 71% millennial shoppers and 29% others. Now, this 29% is predominantly baby boomers and Gen X, but essentially I don't want to group them even further because that's going to be a minority, and that just detracts from the overall point. If you look over here, we see for other departments, 68% of our shoppers are Gen X/baby boomers, 12% others, and 20% are going to be millennials. Now, a key thing that ties into all 5 points that I talked about is trust and how to essentially keep all of our customers and cater all of their needs. I said different folks, different strokes, but another thing that I want to emphasize is trust. So let's think of this paper as the reasons for a customer has to shop at Project Now. Let's make a slight tear here to indicate the fact that they didn't like one of our shops, or they didn't like one of our locations. The employee treated them bad, and then the shopping experience wasn't enjoyable. We didn't cultivate their trust. Overall, what's going to happen? They're not going to want to shop with us again. This is a key thing to note, and overall, it is essential that we use all 5 of the points that I talked about earlier in regards to explaining or showing how we can exactly build a clientele, showing how customer service serves as a function or a process instead of a function, determining our customer and client needs, and building and maintaining relationships with our customers, while finally implementing motivational theories in order to help buying behavior and help us determine the client's needs. So thank you very much for having me here today, and I look forward to talking to you again.